I promised you a Wharfedale Linton review before the year was out, and well, I am a man of my word. So let's see what makes the Linton so special and how it beat our beloved KLH Model 5 in a head-to-head. For the 5 of you out there who haven't heard of the Lintons, here's what you need to know. The Linton is a 3-way bookshelf speaker that features a 1-inch soft dome tweeter, a 5-inch Kevlar mid-range, and an 8-inch Kevlar bass driver. Notice the drivers aren't yellow, focal. The 3 drivers, along with its 2 rear-facing ports, give the speaker a reported frequency response of 40 Hz to 20 kHz with a sensitivity of 90 dB and an impedance of 6 ohms, though the Linton can dip to below 4 ohms, so you're going to want to shop for an amp that is rated to 4 ohms for best results. Now, setting up a pair of Lintons isn't difficult, but you are going to need a good pair of stands because the Lintons are quite large, but not large enough for them to sit on the floor like a floor-standing speaker. Thankfully, Wharfedale makes stands for the Lintons, and while they are not included, I do not consider them to be optional. So you may want to budget a little bit more in order to purchase them along with the speakers should you decide the Lintons are for you. Once on their stands, the only thing you really need to worry about with respect to physical setup is the Linton's proximity to your front wall. Because these speakers are rear ported, they will interact more with your room compared to front ported or sealed speakers. Too close to the wall and you may find their bass a bit boomy. Too far away and you may shout, "Where's the beef?" Everyone's room is going to be a little bit different, so experiment until you achieve the bass response that you're after. Beyond that, you're going to want to pair them with an amplifier capable of driving a 4 ohm load and that has about 50 watts or so of power on tap. Get an amp that gives you both and you should be good. We drove the Lintons using a few different amplifiers, which included the Parasound Hint 6, the Macintosh 7200, Audiolab 6000A Play, and even a vintage Marantz Model 2216. All of these amplifiers worked well with the Lintons. As for sources, we used our reference Audio-Technica turntable with the Ortofon 2M Black Beethoven Edition cartridge, as well as our Apple TV 4K streaming music from Apple Music. Alright, enough about specs and setup. What do the Lintons sound like, and are they really better than the KLH Model 5s? The Lintons are, without a doubt, one of the easiest, most consistent loudspeakers to listen to across the widest range of source material, be it classical on up to hard rock. But let's break it down, starting with the bass. Because the Linton is a ported speaker, it is going to give one a greater sense of low-end reach, or hef, compared to sealed speakers like the KLH Model 5. Head-to-head, the Wharfedale communicated a greater sense of depth with respect to bass compared to the Model 5. Moreover, with careful placement, thanks to its rear-ported design, it is far easier to enhance or perhaps remove bass from the Linton equation. But the presence of dual ports doesn't mean the Linton is outright boomy. Like the Model 5, the Linton's bass, when driven by the right amplifier, is incredibly nuanced and very good with respect to texture. If you're at all a fan of drummers, this is a speaker you're going to want to consider. Both the Model 5 and the Linton get the point of impact of a kick drum right, but the Linton follows the strike up with a greater sense of surrounding air, giving the sound a more three-dimensional organic feel compared to just being a good recreation. Now, the Linton may dig a little deeper in your room compared to a lot of speakers, but it is not a true full-range speaker. It plays plenty deep for my taste, but pairing it with a subwoofer like the Klipsch SPL100 will pay dividends when going for broke or when trying to recreate the full spectrum of a performance like those from Hans Zimmer, Robin, or Enema. Moving up to the mid-range, here's where I think the Linton is likely going to feel the most familiar to existing Wharfedale customers, especially those of you who may be looking at the Lintons as an upgrade path from your Dentons. The Linton mid-range could be described as mildly warm or fuller bodied thanks to the speaker's construction and bass prowess. Instruments and vocals still sound as they should, and the detail and articulation throughout the mid-range is rather exceptional, but there is just a hint of something classic or old-fashioned in its tone that pairs well with a lot of music, especially low-resolution streaming tracks. Without comparing it head-to-head with a speaker like the Model 5, I doubt few would notice the Linton's mildly smooth or polite mid-range performance. In comparison, the Model 5 comes across as a bit cooler, leaner, and forward. I really liked the Linton's mid-range, especially with female vocals and piano ensembles where they just sounded true to the source. If you check these speakers out for yourself, I highly recommend the album Reflections, the piano version by 2 Lanes. It's magical. And then there's the treble. This is not a hyper-pristine, ultra-glassy tweeter. It is naturally detailed, airy, and extended, but if you're one who prefers their speaker to be energetic up into about that 20 kilohertz point or beyond, the Linton is going to sound a little bit more subdued. This is not a bright, brittle, or forward speaker at all. If you listen to a lot of compressed recordings, the Linton will allow you to be able to enjoy them without being too concerned with things like sibilants or plosives. But don't misunderstand, the Linton's top end is not veiled or rolled off to the point where the speaker lacks sonic contrast. There is plenty of information up top. It's just presented in a way that doesn't call attention to itself, which, in my opinion, is the mark of a well-balanced loudspeaker. Now, in terms of soundstage, the Lintons are not forward. They are not brash, nor are they energetic. They are refined, and as a result, the sound starts near or just behind the speaker's front baffles and extends well behind and to the sides, with solid focus throughout. I found center imaging to be impressive. It definitely gets better with a touch of toe-in, but it is solid overall. For a larger bookshelf with 2 rear ports, I was surprised by how well the Lintons disappeared within the soundstage, though they didn't quite have the outright laser focus you may enjoy with smaller two-ways, but few, if any, small two-way bookshelf speakers can produce room-filling sound quite the way the Lintons can. If you like large orchestral works, the Linton's larger physical stature pays off, and the speaker is capable of a soundstage to match. Dynamically, the Lintons are not going to overwhelm you. Their dynamics are good, natural in their agility, but lightning fast or outright explosive? No. If you want a more dynamic speaker, the Model 5 wins. But while the Model 5 may be just a hair more responsive and impactful, the scale of a crescendo or explosion is just larger with the Linton, thanks again to its richer bass response. So the Lintons are the perfect speaker, right? Well, not quite. First, I wish the grills were magnetic. I know the push-pin style grill is likely a nod to the past, but the speaker still looks vintage without needing to push or peel the grills on and off. Lastly, the stands shouldn't be optional. I appreciate that Wharfedale is being upfront on the product page about the stands, but I really think excluding them from the price is just a way for the speaker to appear more affordable, when in reality they cost nearly $1,800 a pair once you include the not-so-optional stands. Apart from those 2 caveats, whether or not you ultimately like or love the Lintons is going to just come down to personal taste. While I've been dropping hints along the way about how the Lintons compare to the great KLH Model 5, let's get into it. While I would have never classified the Model 5 as leaner or forward in direct comparison to the Lintons, that is exactly how they come across. The Model 5 has more upper mid-range energy, and when it comes to the tweeter, it is notably more pronounced. On its own, the Model 5 doesn't outright exhibit these traits, but up against the Linton, the 5 is simply more forward, more energetic up top, and less full down low. Playing the same source material, the Lintons just seemed more at ease with every track we threw at them, whereas the Model 5s could get aggressive with some pop albums, and in the case with low-res music, they could even become a tad fatiguing. Does that make the Model 5 more revealing, more neutral to the source? Maybe. But the Lintons just proved to be easy like a Sunday morning, and I just like that. Nothing against the Model 5. We still have and love ours, but it would appear, at least in our room and to my tastes, the Linton is a more well-rounded speaker. Now, a lot of you have been asking for this comparison, and in many ways, the Lintons reminded me a bit of the Magnat Transpuls 1500, which is another 3-way speaker, albeit not a bookshelf. The Magnat, like the Linton, is a speaker that sounds way better than many audiophiles would have you believe based on their asking price. The Linton is a more mature speaker compared to the Transpuls, but I wouldn't call the difference between the two night and day. The Magnat is a little more lively and dynamic, but on the whole, these two are very well-rounded speakers. If $1,800 is too much for your budget, maybe take a peek at the Transpuls at just under $1,000 a pair. Of course, there is the more expensive L82 and the L100 from JBL. Both are great speakers, and those brightly colored foam grills are absolutely iconic. But if it were me and my money, I'd go with the Lintons over either of the JBLs because I just think you're getting more for your money in comparison, as cool as the JBL grills do look. If you caught our Best of 2021 award show last week, you already know that the Linton was our speaker of the year under $2,500 a pair, so it should be pretty obvious that I think these speakers are frickin' great. So that's it. That is now my Wharfedale Linton review. I hope the wait was worth it, but now it's time to find out if Kristi liked them.
Can you believe we almost lost our dog over these speakers?
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, seriously, we were so excited about these speakers when they showed up that we called the guys over at WHARFEDALE.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our dog was out living her very best life.
She got out of the gate while we were on the phone. That's right.
Little turd. Anyway, the first thing I said to the WHARFEDALE guys was, you should have sent these to us sooner.
Yeah.
Because I just knew the about to get for saying that these were better than the Model 5s.
Yeah.
But hey, that's what happens when you wait to send us gear. Just saying.
So apart from that, what did you think?
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. These speakers are fantastic. The Darth Vader all black has grown on me in the stands while adding to the cost. I feel like they're super unique.
Yeah.
I personally would like to see them do a light oak version someday. I think paired with the black stands, I think that would be dope.
Yeah, that would probably look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And bring them, I think, maybe a bit away from being, vintage into something a little bit more contemporary.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And can I don't want to interrupt you, but can I say something about the black? Because we didn't make a big deal about it here. But the black is a new finish. And while the Lintons aren't, I guess, technically a home theater speaker, you obviously can use them for home theater, and you may pair them with, say, the Denton or something like that for a center, or maybe if you can get one in the middle, that's great too. But the nice thing is it's not a gloss black, so it doesn't become a mirror surface or a reflection point visually when your screen is, blasting, bright light and stuff. And that was one of the things that happens with a lot of speakers that are like in these automotive finishes, is they become mirrors. And the black finish here doesn't do that. So I was really, really happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, to me, what was really so impressive is just how well they're made at this price. I mean, look, forget the stands. I know that's an add to the cost, but if you just look solely at the cost of the speakers, man, they are freaking nice.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like you're stealing a little bit, kind of like with the magnets. I mean, you get so much for your pound for pound for your dollar.
Yeah. But I will say, in terms of construction, while these are nowhere near as big as the Magnat Transpuls, and so obviously the Magnat Transpuls is built in a way that is a little bit more budget conscious because of its sheer size. If you were taking size out of the equation and material costs of more size or scale, the Lintons are as buttoned up as any speaker, probably this side of like $5,000. I'm serious. These are really, really well-built speakers, and I'm with you. At their price, it's like, what's everyone else's excuse?
I know. And so I kind of feel like maybe that makes it understandable why they used push pins, but I'm with you. I think magnet grills is like, we don't need to be like that old school with our design. But for sound, as far as the sound goes, I'm a rip my face off, give me some live sounding speaker, and I'm a happy girl. And in that respect, this should have been the Model 5 race to lose. But like you said, when doing a direct A-B comparison, you just started to hear a little bit of harshness coming out of the Model 5 and with certain recordings that I honestly hadn't noticed before.
Yeah.
So for all day listening and, no having to worry about what you're listening to, I think the Lintons are the way to go.
Yeah.
Plus they're cheaper and it's kind of hard to compete with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I agree. I think both speakers are fantastic. I think the Model 5 is still a great speaker. And if you if you're unable to directly compare it to, say, the Linton or even the Magnat Transpuls, you're likely not going to notice its slightly energetic upper mid-range and tweeter. And if anything, you'll just get used to it and it'll be fine. It really will. It's only when you go A-B are you like, oh, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, because I never had an issue with it.
No, they're not bright speakers.
When they're not. Yeah, I never had an issue with the Model 5s. And I love the Model 5s. I think they're really, really great speakers. And if you bought them already, especially based off of our initial review of those, please don't feel like you've made any sort of mistake. No. I mean, they're still very good speakers.
Yeah.
And they accomplish just an incredible amount for what you're getting.
Yeah, and I would also say that if you're tight on space and you can't get the Wharfedales out away from your front wall, say, call it about 18 inches or a little bit more. If that's just, you can't do that. You're left with two choices. You either have to plug the ports, which effectively turns the Linton kind of into the KLH. Not exactly, don't come for me, but we'll do the same. Or you can just get the KLHs. It's kind of like, pick your poison a little bit, but they're both fantastic.
They're both great. And I mean, I think I'm going to miss the Lintons when they go. So, hey, Wharfedale, hit me up when you come out with that lighter oak finish. I'm going to be ready to have them back in the house. But anyway, congratulations to Wharfedale. You made a really, really good speaker, and you were well deserving to get that, that
Speaker
badge
of the
from
year.
us.
Yeah. So that's it. That is now our review of the Wharfedale Linton loudspeaker. What did you guys think? Let us know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, I've got a question of the day for you. This one should be pretty obvious, and that is, in your opinion, who wins, the KLH Model 5 or the Wharfedale Linton? Let's get a conversation started. If you like this video, oh my God, I almost screwed up. If you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and go ahead and ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. If you use any of the links that Kristi left for you down below, know that that is a great way that you've continued to show your support for this channel and the work that we do here. And both of us, thank you very much for doing that. Speaking of support, we are currently trying to raise money for the American Red Cross that is going directly to disaster relief for those impacted by the tornadoes this past week. If you have had the news on at all, you no doubt have seen the devastation, and people out there really need our help. So join Kristi and I, please, in giving what you can today. And if you can't give, please share this video so that maybe other people can give. But yeah, just click donate off to the side or maybe right below, depending on the device you're using. But please give what you can today. Follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and that is it for us today. So remember, the only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.